Chapter 1. Hey, how about an international conference? Part 2. Returning to the present, the royal tour had just come to a close. Everyone with their friggin' poker faces. This is unbelievable. Sure enough, Wine was found wailing in his office in Willeran Palace as Ninim stood beside him. After parting with Felania, he had peeled himself out of his travel clothes, quickly bathed, and squeezed in a quick meeting with his vassals. Now here he was. I tried to warn you. Ninim shrugged as she watched Wine squirm in agony. What the heck? Where's your motivation? This was your big chance, guys. If not now, then when? This is the part where you step up. Take charge. Forge your own path. Why? That's simple. This country isn't worth rebelling over. Gak. If anything, it's too much work for a loss in profits. You. It's easier to leave the boring tasks to you, kick back, and collect an easy paycheck. Nua. Wine shrieked. Ninim posed a basic question. Were you that eager for a rebellion? I don't want one at all. But I would be lying if I said I wasn't hoping for a minor rebellion that's easy to suppress and gives us grounds to seize their fortunes, to fill the country's coffers. Yes. A perfectly egotistical plan. Even Ninim could only feel exasperated by her master's rotten nature. Well, in any case, now we know. All the powerful nobles you paid a visit to are supportive, and there are no known rumors of opposition brewing. Even if some are unsatisfied, there isn't a single person in Natra with the strength to overthrow you at this moment. Ninim was right. Wine had been warmly welcomed in many of the territories they had visited. Certainly, they had their own motives and goals for supporting him. But the majority were ready to hop aboard Wine's ship. Yuck. I toiled through hardship and braved the snow, and this is what I get. I won't give up. Plan B has to work. Wine's plan to travel to each area with a small guard detail to invite open rebellion had failed. But Wine had another scheme ready in his back pocket. I'm sure that one will face the same fate. Hey, that's not true. I think. I know. I hope, he trailed off, thinking about his last failure before face-planting on his desk. I'm suddenly exhausted. I knew your plot was destined to fail. But that doesn't change the fact that touring the kingdom in the winter was tough. You can relax now, we're back safe and sound. We should go to bed early tonight. No kidding. Whose idea was it to do this during winter anyway? Yours, Wine. Oh yeah, Wine moaned weakly from the desk. Wait, this is bad. I forgot this was the work zone. Why am I relaxing in here? Makes me seem like a workaholic. I don't see anything wrong with that. It's terrible. Wine shouted, sitting up emphatically from his desk. If I keep this up, I'll become an uptight square who looks for work in retirement, even after I finish selling out the country. I should be living the lazy life, starting right now. I see. What's this? Come on now. What's with that attitude? I bet you're thinking here he goes again, spouting the same OL bull. All of you know that I'm gonna follow through. I totally will. With what time and money? Wine banged his head on the desk. I'm certain your legacy will live on as a beautiful tale. Yeah, they'll remember me as the supreme hot genius prince. Hot is pushing it. I'll never understand why you're so hard on my looks, Miss Ninim. As your servant, it is only natural. That's definitely not natural. But as soon as that thought crossed Wine's mind, there was a knock at the office door before it was thrown open. Wine, Ninim, may I come in now? Of course. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, Felania. His change in demeanor could truly be considered an expert performance. Wine adopted the air of a capable young scion as he greeted Felania. Ninim flashed him a look. Damn show-off. He ignored it with grace. How were things while we were away, Felania? Anything odd happen? Everything was the same as always. I listened to Claudius's lectures. I played with Nanaki. I ate Holly's pancakes. Felania started to rattle off occurrences in her daily life. Wine and Ninim listened carefully, occasionally interjecting to make appropriate comments. From this conversation, they gathered that she was beloved by many who served the palace. That sounds nice. I'm relieved to hear everything was good at home. Wine stroked Felania's hair when she finished, and she broke into a contented smile. How did things go for you, Wine? We were able to meet everyone as planned and assess conditions in each of the provinces. The outcome was better than expected. That's just what I'd expect from you, Felania praised before sulking. You could have come home sooner, though. Come now. Don't be like that, Felania. We tried to pack in as much as possible in the little time we had. Right, Ninim? Precisely. It's inevitable that traveling in the winter takes time. Curtailing our trip any further would have proved difficult. Gur. You're taking his side, Ninim. Felania puffed up her cheeks. Why do you have to go out to greet people in the first place, Wine? You're the Prince Regent. They should be summoned to the palace instead. That's exactly why. I'm in a position where I can call upon others. If I go out myself, I honor the other person. He had actually been trying to lure out rebels, but he could never tell her that. If he did, his sister would definitely get angry and say he was terrible for doubting his vassals. Well, she's cute when she's mad, too, Wine thought. I suppose he has a point, Felania acquiesced. The siblings nodded at each other at the same time. I see. Based on her expression, Wine could see it was clear that Felania reluctantly accepted his answer. That was only natural since it wasn't sound logic that was most important to her, but her big brother's affections. Wine knew this, and it made him smile. Don't worry, Felania. I'll be stuck in the palace for a while, recovering from this trip. I promise to make up for all the lonely moments that you endured. Really? Felania's eyes sparkled. Of course. Well, it's getting late. You should head back to your room for the night. Her mood immediately turned dour. What? But even the moon is out playing with the stars. No dice. I heard you didn't sleep yesterday. I bet you're tired right now. Ugh. Wine's pointed observation left her speechless. In all honesty, sheep were already crowding the back of her mind as bedtime drew near. I plan on turning in early too. Ninim will see you off. Well, let us get going, Princess Felania. Remember your promise, Wine. You can't forget. Yes, of course. I wouldn't lie to you. Felania had no argument. She pouted and left the room with Ninim. All alone, Wine spoke to himself. Well, it would be spring in Natra soon. On the southern end of the continent, the winter season had already departed, meaning all the nations of the land were beginning to buzz with activity once again. That's only if nothing happens, Wine murmured, hoping for the best. Of course, there was no way his wish could be granted. An emissary from Cavern? Just as it seemed like they'd finally recovered from their long journey, taken care of miscellaneous matters, and resumed business as usual, the announcement came. Yes, they arrived moments ago. It appears they have an official message from the King of Cavern, Ninim added. Wine folded his arms as he considered this news. Cavern was a nation bordering Natra to the west. They had only become neighbors the previous year. Before that, the territory had been a nation known as Marden. But during the Natra, Marden War over the gold mine, Cavern troops had attacked and conquered the former royal capital of Marden, Thalatuk. With most of the royal family captured and executed, Marden was no more, making Natra and Cavern new neighbors. But with only a non-aggression pact to define their relationship, both kingdoms fell into a vague diplomatic situation that was neither friendly nor hostile. There were reasons for this. Natra was busy running its new gold mine and negotiating deals with the Empire in the east, while Cavern's occupation was met with resistance by the Marden army. Both kingdoms had their hands full thinking about this sort of thing. I'm guessing this official letter isn't a declaration of war. What do you want to do? Sending someone else to receive them instead of going yourself is an option. No, I'll go. I don't know how much this emissary knows, but I want to dig for leads. Understood. I'll arrange a meeting. Before that, there is one thing about the emissary. As Wine had ordered, an appointment was set. Since the Cavern delegation hailed from the west, there were no flom in the room, including Ninim. Accompanied by his guards, Wine headed to the room where a man reminiscent of a reedy, withering tree waited for him. It is my pleasure to meet you, Prince Regent, the man announced with a masterful bow and a thick voice that almost seemed viscous. My name is Holinye. I am but a single servant of the King of Cavern. I have come to your nation on his behalf. Holinye. Wine gave no reaction upon hearing the name. After all, Ninim had told him beforehand. We warmly welcome you, Lord Holinye. Wine nodded, gazing at him intently. Before discussing the subject at hand, there's something I'd like to ask. Didn't you serve the kingdom of Marden? Or is my memory failing me? Oh, dear me. Hollier smiled rather than appearing shaken. As perceptive as the rumors claim. I'm in awe. You are right. I was indeed in the pay of Marden. But after the nation collapsed and I found myself at a loss, I was appointed to a new position by the ruler of Cavarin, King Ordalas. And then you rose up to become the emissary of a neighboring nation. Not one to miss an opportunity, I see, Wine added sarcastically. It is all thanks to the great King Ordalas. Hollier only bowed his head reverently. I guess anyone who would take such obvious bait would never get hired in the first place. Wine had taken a jab at Hollier to get a feel for his character, but it was a wasted effort. He switched gears and decided to get to the heart of the matter. Lord Hollier, I gather you're here on some kind of mission for King Ordalas? Indeed. I ask that you look at this. He presented a sealed letter with the crest of Cavarin carved into the wax. Inside was a single sheet with King Ordalas' signature at the bottom. There was no questioning its authenticity. As Wine read it, his eyes widened. Lord Hollier, is this real? Yes. I have a message from the king as well. Hollier paused before continuing. In order to deepen the friendship between the kingdoms of Natura and Cavarin, the king wishes to invite you, Prince Regent, to attend our Festival of the Spirit held at the royal capital. A few days had passed since the arrival of Cavarin's emissary. Invited to the Festival of the Spirit, huh? Felania groaned as she toyed with a feather quill. She had heard about the meeting between Wine and the emissary. Her main takeaway was that her beloved big brother would be going on another trip, but hey, Claudius. You're from the West, right? Do you know about the Festival of the Spirit? Why, of course. The tutor nodded as he carried on his lesson in a new direction. Do you know the teachings of Lavitia, princess? It's a famous religion in the West, I think. Lavitia was a monotheistic religion established a few hundred years prior. It had a particularly strong hold in the West. That should be enough context. The Festival of the Spirit is a Lavitian ritual held in early spring. It began when the founder Lavitia, with the protection of God, freed the masses from the demons torturing them. It is now celebrated as a day to express gratitude for the great feat. As a matter of fact, there are devotees throughout Natura who participate in their own events. Claudius cracked a small smile. Naturally, he continued, the general purpose of the festival is to celebrate the coming of spring. Honoring Lavitia is for the most pious of believers. I gather Cavarin is inviting Wine to this festival to become better friends with Natura? Well, I'm merely a humble instructor. It is rather difficult for me to answer that question, he replied, shaking his head. If I could bring up one point of concern, it is that the Festival of the Spirit in the royal capital takes place at the same time as the Gathering of the Chosen this year. The Gathering of the Chosen? Felania tilted her head. The Holy King is the head of Lavitia, and those who serve under him as assistants are called the Holy Elites. The Holy King is chosen from among them. You could also say the Holy Elites are candidates for the Holy King. Claudius drew a simple triangle. Holy King was written at the very top with Holy Elites on the level directly beneath it, followed by priests and believers. The Holy King and the Elites meet once a year. This is called the Gathering of the Chosen. Felania considered this new information for a few moments. Is it a very important meeting? Claudius nodded. Indeed. The teachings of Lavitia is the most prominent religion in the West. In addition to the Holy King and elites, there will be an array of other rulers and influential figures in attendance. This gathering might be considered the largest international conference in the West. And it'll take place in Cavarin, which means, correct. King Ordalas is one of the Holy Elites. The location of the gathering changed each year on a rotational basis, always hosted in an elite city of residence. This year, it would be held in Cavarin's royal capital alongside the Festival of the Spirit. Wine showed me the letter, but it didn't say anything about the Gathering of the Chosen. Just that he was invited to the festival. Felania moaned once again. I wonder what their king could be planning? There must be some motive. Especially since it cannot be said that the Holy Elites have no relation with Prince Wine, or rather, with the royal family of Natura. What do you mean? The relationship between the Holy King and the Holy Elites began with the founder, Lavisha, and the lead disciples. To become an elite, one must carry the blood of Lavisha or one of the followers. Philania understood what he was getting at. Which means our family, yes. As a member of the royal family in Naliavine, our founder, Selima, is descended from an ancient bloodline related to Lavisha's disciple, Galeus. In other words, his descendants, including Wine and Philania, fulfilled one of the conditions required to become a holy elite. Philania never realized she had this blood coursing through her veins in addition to being royalty. She stared, fixated, at her hands. Of course, that only satisfies a single requirement. Any who truly wished to become a holy elite would need assets, military power, political clout, and a number of other things. The Festival of the Spirit and the Gathering of the Chosen. It was obvious that Kavrin had invited Wine, a possible elite, with hidden intentions in mind. Philania couldn't imagine what they could be, but they had to pose a danger to Wine. I wonder what Wine will do. This was a matter of national politics. As she was now, she had no right to interfere. That said, she wanted Wine to stay home for as long as possible. Philania held on to these thoughts with concern for her brother, all the while wishing they could stay together. Meanwhile, I don't want to go. Wine screamed in his office. But I gotta. I knew this would happen, Ninim said at his side as he cradled his head in his hands. The timing is perfect. There's nothing weird about inviting you to the festival. With spring just over the horizon, of course they'd be thinking about re-examining our unstable relationship. Don't you think there's a possibility they're calling me out to set up an assassination? I can't rule it out. But that would just provoke Natra into declaring war. With Kavrin already trying to deal with the remnants of Marden's army, it would mean fighting on multiple fronts. Wouldn't it be more strategic for them to seek cooperation by strengthening our alliance? Yeah, you're right. If it had been any other year, I swear I would have honestly thought the same thing. Ninim nodded. It's worth noting that this meeting coincides with the gathering of the Chosen at their royal capital. Of course, it could merely be a total scheduling coincidence. There's no way. My guess is that it's a ploy to have me join the holy elites. I mean, it's pretty much a de facto political faction. With your accomplishments and pedigree, they're probably considering you as a future elite. They must be hoping to properly evaluate you. They'll want to establish the pecking order while they still can. Of course, this was just a theory. But in either case, the greatest powerhouse of the West was expecting him. There was no way he could duck out with a quick greeting. If I go, I'll definitely get caught up in some kind of trouble. I don't doubt it. Ninim nodded. But it would be unfortunate to let this chance at improving relations with the West slip by. Yeah, you've got a point, he trailed off. Aya. Why? Wine unleashed his anguish. I know we've got a trade-dependent economy, but our relationship with the West has been on hold for the past 100 years. Teaming up with Kavrin could be huge for us. And if everything works out, our country's value will soar. After all, their founder had anticipated this barren land would become a bustling hub connecting the East and West. Although the northern lands had various disadvantages, they still managed to flourish until those 100 years of deteriorating relations with the West. Then I take that you'll accept their invitation? He had been personally invited by the king himself. If Wine wanted a direct conversation, he had no choice but to go there. A pained look crossed his face for a moment as he thought things over, but ultimately he nodded. Yeah, let's do it. We can't tell what the other side is thinking with our limited information. I don't think they'll try to kill me. I'm gonna jump right in. Things are going to get busy again, even though we only got back to the palace just the other day. No kidding. Why am I working so much? Because you're the crown prince of Natra, obviously, Ninim quipped, giving the slouched Wine a side glance. She turned on her heel. Well then, I'll go ahead and prepare a schedule. I'll leave other matters to you, Wine. Other matters, oh right, replying to the letter. That too, but there's something else even more important. Care to remind me? Apologizing to Philania. Wine looked up at the ceiling and seriously despaired over what he should tell his little sister now that he had to break his promise to spend time together. Fate had already begun weaving a new tale. Heralded by the death of the Earthworld's emperor, this era became known as the Great War of Kings. The chance meeting between Wine Selima Arbalest and the holy elites would give rise to chaos across the Western continent.